Alright everybody, welcome back. It is time for game number 3 between Huck and MoonGlade. And so far, MoonGlade has gone up 2-0 in this series. Huck is in a little bit of trouble. I would say a lot of trouble, especially if this is a best of 5, which once again I forgot to check. I'm just so excited to move on to the next game that I don't have time to breathe, think, or even look at the information for these set of replays. But regardless, it is going to be on Delta Quadrant, which I do like for our Protoss player Huck, and the reason for that is because this map is a Zerg player's nightmare. Huck loves this map. I'm sure if I were Protoss, I would make love to this map because this map is that darn good for Protoss. The reason for that is because Zerg, if you try to grab this natural expansion on the front, I wouldn't even call it the natural. I would call this like the worst expansion possible. Why? Because a Protoss player can easily go for 4-gate, and then they can just run right by your defenses and sneak right into the main base of the Zerg. So oftentimes, if you're Zerg on this map, you're kind of forced into a situation where you can't go for a fast expansion. You kind of have to go for some kind of one base roach play or something. You just can't go for standard fast expo, and you really want to actually grab the expansion at the back first. So we'll see how this game works out. It looks like MoonGlade is actually going to go with that strategy that he went with on Zelnaga Caverns, which worked out quite well. He was able to break down a fully loaded gateway, a fully charged gateway. It had full health, full shields, and he was able to kill it with, what, 4 or 5 Zerglings with speed. And so it looks like he's going to do that once again. He's going to go for 13 gas, 13 pool, or maybe 14 gas, 14 pool. I'm not sure on the exact numbers there. But he is going to go for early speedlings once again, and Huck is going to have to figure something out. Is he going to allow the same thing to happen? Of course, the Protoss player can build a Cybernetics core here, and then they can get the Zealot here, and that's what Huck did in game number 1, but somehow he allowed those Zerglings to bust through. So, and I think the reason for that is because Huck tried to go for early Stargate, and so he kind of cut back on his opening resources. He wasn't able to get a second Zealot out, and that really hurt him. The Zerglings were able to break through and end the game. So we'll see what happens this time around. Huck is going to throw up that Cybernetics core to help wall off the front, and MoonGlade is, as expected, is going to get speed. Is actually pulled the 3 drones off gas, so this is ideal for going for 13 gas, 13 pool, ideal for going for early Zerg pressure, and then eventually establishing your early expansion. And if the Zerg goes for 13 gas, 13 pool, then they can go for the hatchery here kind of a little bit more safely. They don't have to worry nearly as much about the 4-gate because they're going to have a bunch of speed Zerglings, and they can surround the Protoss attack if and when it does happen. So we'll see what happens. It looks like Huck is not going to get the second gas this time around. I think he's learned his lesson from game number 1, and he's going to obviously try to get the second Stalker out a little bit earlier, and this is going to help him deal with the Zerglings. So here we go. Zerglings coming in, same exact situation, but this time the Stalker is going to be out much earlier, and the Stalker will be able to ward away the Zerglings, I think, without the gateway going down this time. And indeed, it looks like MoonGlade just using the early Zerg setup to get his hatchery down. The Stalker pops out, the Zerglings falling back in retreat, and now Huck in a much better position. And look at this, Huck is gonna go for the 4-gate. He's got 3 gateways coming down. The timing for the 4-gate, a perfect 4-gate, hits at exactly the 6-minute mark. So we've got 1 minute to go. We'll see if Huck's timing is right on point. It looks like MoonGlade gonna sacrifice 2 Zerglings there. That's gonna hurt because he's gonna need every single Zergling in his army to deal with this 4-gate attack. If he doesn't have everything, he's gonna be in trouble. It looks like MoonGlade's gonna catch one of the proxy pylons as well, and this is all MoonGlade needs to see to know that Huck is going for a 4-gate. Seeing that proxy pylon, he knows exactly what's up right now. Oh, he's gonna almost get a run by, but a force field from the dying sentry, the last breath from the sentry, making sure that the Zerglings could not run inside the main. Very nice play right there from Huck. I think Huck right here. Oh no, he's gonna let some of the Zerglings in. This is so bad for Huck. He's gonna lose the Zealot at the front as well, and now he's forced to warp in. Thankfully, he's gone for 4-gate, so he can warp in enough Zealots to deal with this. If he did not have 4-gate right now, he would be in so much trouble. He's still in trouble nonetheless, though, because he's got all these Zerglings to deal with. More Zerglings flooding their way into Huck's main, and Huck here needs another cycle of his warp gates. Thankfully, he warped in another Zealot right there to prevent the rest of the Zerglings from running in. So very nice play, bringing in some sentries right here to hopefully blockade these Zerglings from running in. Force field, there we go. And I think Huck should be able to deal with this, hopefully. Notice right now MoonGlade trying to get rid of these sentries. He doesn't want these sentries to throw down any more force fields, and the Zealots are scrambling to deal with the Zerglings so that they cannot pick off the sentries. Another pair of Zealots and sentry coming out. It looks like the gateway gets taken down. Hey, last time the gateway went down, it was GG for Huck, so that is a huge loss for the Protoss player, losing the gateway this early on. It's no longer a 4-gate, it is now a 3-gate. It's actually a 2-gate because apparently a pylon got taken out, so one of the warp gates went unpowered, and so Huck there just barely survived and just barely held on. He knows now that he cannot go for just a raw 4-gate attack because MoonGlade is well prepared. He's got a ton of Zerglings, he's got Spine Crawlers. So now Huck is going to try to go for a Nexus. And this is very bold because why? If he tries to defend this, then his main is going to be exposed. It looks like he wasn't even able to defend it in the first place. The Nexus gets canceled. And Huck is just scrambling on all avenues right now. MoonGlade is pumping on all cylinders, and MoonGlade looks like he's gonna take game number 3. We actually have a Baneling's Nest coming out right now for the Zerg player, which, wow, a Baneling bust at this stage in the game. Nobody would expect it. A bunch of green sacks rolling in your face. Who would expect it to happen right now? I certainly wouldn't. And so it could possibly be the coffin, the nail in the coffin for our Protoss player. And Huck right now needs to try to get that Nexus up. It looks like he is, but wow, he is so far behind. Well, actually no, he's not that far behind. If we look at the economy, we just popped up this tab and we can see that Huck is at 24 harvesters, so he's actually got an economic advantage this game. But even though he's got an economic advantage, he is way far behind in the army tabs. I think that, no, he's not actually that far behind in army as either. So hey, Huck is holding on quite well. MoonGlade though, here we go, his Banelings have been revealed. Looks like the Banelings, their damage is going to be minimalized, and the Zealots here are going to stay alive. Wow, Huck here doing a great job of hitting those Banelings with the Zealots. He basically used the Zealots as a meat shield, and a bunch of the Zealots remained alive. So you know what actually happened is MoonGlade tried to go for a Baneling bust. He invested a ton of resources into massing Speedlings and Banelings, and that just blew up right in his face. Literally blew up in his face, and now Huck is in a pretty good position to push forward and punish the Zerg Natural. And MoonGlade now is scrambling his forces. He's got some Zerglings and he's got some Banelings coming out, but he's in a pretty bad situation. Even though the Zerg player MoonGlade did a lot of damage in the early game, he ran in here, he killed off a bunch of probes. It looks like Huck was able to catch up, and this is really the hallmark of Huck. Even though he's behind, he's able to come back in this game. Now all he's got to do is hit the Zerg Natural. There are only 2 Spine Crawlers defending here. The Baneling's trying to run over to the side right here, but the Stalker's not having any of that. They're going to run in here. It looks like the Zergling's trying to distract the Stalkers so the Banelings can get into the Sentries and Zealots, but all the Banelings went down. And now the Zerglings, all that's left, a bunch of force fields spamming down. I think that Huck here might be able to hold on. Unfortunately for Huck, he doesn't have any proxy pylons to warp in additional reinforcements, so that attack is going to be stopped cold, and MoonGlade is going to hold on to his natural expansion. So a nice hold right there from MoonGlade, and so far this game is getting very down to the wire. We could look at this. MoonGlade, guys, is still on layer, or is still on hatchery. He doesn't have layer whatsoever. He hasn't upgraded to tier 2. He's been primarily going with just Speedlings and Banelings, and he's finally decided to start getting some roaches out. He's also trying to take down the gold rocks, which I do agree with. He needs to get some more economy rolling, because right now, of course, the Protoss player is on 2 bases, and any Protoss on 2 base, the Zerg player needs to get the 3rd base up and running as soon as possible. So we can see right here, it looks like Huck is starting to get down his forge. He's going to throw down, I believe, a couple of cannons. It looks like we have another engagement right here. The Zerglings barely able to squeeze their way through the force field. So nice little eking of the Zerglings getting out of harm's way. Those Zerglings could have been trapped in a very nasty position. It looks like Huck is once again gonna push forward. Remember, there's only 1 Spine Crawler here now. It looks like, where are the other Zerglings? I don't know where the other Zerglings went, but Huck here is gonna push his way forward. It looks like, oh, there's the Zerglings. They actually tried to run into the Protoss Natural. I'm not sure how many probes they were able to kill off. It looks like MoonGlade trying to just attack wherever possible and trying to hold the Protoss army back. Huck defending quite well, though. I don't think he lost that many probes, maybe 5 or so. So that was a nice little counterattack from the Zerg player MoonGlade. And remember, that does two things. Not only does it damage the Protoss player's economy, it also buys the Zerg player time to defend against the inevitable Protoss ball. It looks like Huck is pushing forward once again. MoonGlade trying to buy time to get more roaches out. He needs to defend against this so badly. And it looks like he is going to hold off the Protoss army once again. So this battle is just getting closer and closer. And right now it's just warp gate units versus hatchery units. There is no layer down at this point. MoonGlade is completely on tier 1. Huck is completely on tier 1. Finally, we have a robotics facility coming down. And I think right now what Huck is waiting for is +1 weapons. He's going to wait for the +1 weapons on the forge to finish. That's going to make his Protoss army that much more deadly. And then he's going to push forward and try to annihilate the Zerg player. So MoonGlade, he needs to get enough army units to deal with this. All of his spine crawlers, it seems, have been picked apart. And so he's going to have to rely completely on his army units to deal with that. It looks like he's going to push forward and take out the unit that is Xel'Naga Watchtower. This is MoonGlade's point of view camera. Huck's point of view camera here. He's scouting with that probe in the minimap on the bottom right-hand corner just to check for where the third expansion's at. And he doesn't really know where it's at. It looks like he's going to throw up another proxy pylon. And here we go. MoonGlade going to push forward with a very large army. Note he's bringing the Lings and the Banelings to the back because he doesn't want to run them into a wall of force fields. And there goes the force fields. Very nice. The robotics facility gets taken out. A bunch of Banelings exploding before they hit their mark. And MoonGlade here could be in a lot of trouble. The force fields, nice force fields, locking the roaches without anywhere to escape or retreat. And it looks like MoonGlade is going to have to fall back. He's not going to be able to do any damage at all. And Huck, looking good, going to push forward. Remember, there's a pylon down here. It's not going to be able to do much, though. And right now, MoonGlade in a pretty bad spot. He has to defend against this. He should wait for the rest of his roaches to come out because that's a lot of stalkers and sentries. I don't know if this is enough Zerglings to handle this. I think that Huck might actually take the game right here. He's got too many stalkers, too many sentries. And MoonGlade is going to have to GG out. So MoonGlade loses game number 3 after I thought for sure MoonGlade was going to take it away. He was in such a great spot in the early game, but Huck was able to get that Nexus at the natural. He was able to slowly ramp up his economy, and he was able to outproduce and out-macro our Zerg player. So that was a huge swing in momentum and one thing that Huck really, really needed. So we're going to now move on to game number 4 between Huck and MoonGlade, and it is down to the wire here. This series is getting better and better. I hope you guys enjoyed this broadcast. HD signing out.